Okay, we're moving from gems of truth that is based on certain words of Jesus, attributed to Jesus, to specifically the Lord's Prayer, which is why Audrey sang the song this morning so beautifully, I might add. Very nice. Even though you are my daughter, I have to get to brag. And But we have prayed the Lord's Prayer many times. I have talked about it many times, various series that I've given. And it's always worth looking at. It's worth getting back to the basic ideas that are contained in it. And as I have pointed out in the past, the Lord's Prayer as we have it doesn't really come from the Bible. There are sections of it that do. But one glaringly missing section is, "For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever." At the end, you don't see that in any place in the Bible. I think Luke gives a pretty abbreviated version of it, and Matthew gives a little longer version. But it is, as I have said in the beginning of this series, the ideas that we're going to look at, it doesn't really matter where they come from. And many scholars doubt that Jesus sat down and taught this Lord's Prayer specifically as we have it. That it was probably over a period of time that these are ideas that were compiled and put together in this very poetic form that has become meaningful to a lot of us. And we can, again, say something like this so much that we forget, we lose track of what's in there, or we may not even realize what's in there. I would like to deal with the three ideas today. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And just in saying that, the feeling that I am tempted to go with is I'm addressing the old man in the sky. What's your friend call it? Sky Daddy? Sky Daddy? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. It's like I'm actually creating a distance, it feels like. And the idea is that I'm turning away from my human self to something larger than myself. And there's an important idea there. But there is some meaning in each of these three terms that we can look at and get something out of. So, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. These three ideas are a preparatory mindset that opens us to receive. And what I'll say at the outset here is you don't have to use the Lord's Prayer to use these ideas. It's a mindset that I'm going to be talking about here. It's a preparatory mindset. That anytime you have a situation in your life, you don't know what to do, you're looking at all of your resources, trying to figure out how to juggle everything around and come up with some kind of an answer. It's a mindset that says, it's not my intelligence alone that is at work in bringing forth an answer. There's something greater than me. There's an intelligence greater than my own. And it's not that I don't have access to that intelligence. But we so often get in this little bubble of thought, of the self-image, this personality. And we look at what we have, we look at the problem at hand, and we wonder how could we possibly gather the resources to deal with this problem? I don't know what to do. And so I turn to a power greater than myself. And the knee-jerk reaction most of us have, or many of us have because of our previous training, is the power greater than ourselves is someplace else. And so what we're doing with the Lord's Prayer and looking at it in a different way is we are bringing our attention, our awareness into this only place that God can ever be, and that's right where you stand. This is our relationship with God. This is our portal to the infinite, right where we stand. The illustration I've given before is if you are standing on a beach, looking out at the ocean. That's your experience. That's your little piece of beach that you're standing on for that moment. It's our ocean. It's not somebody else's in that regard. At that moment, it's yours. And if you think, well, I could be on somebody else's spot on the beach and have a better view or better understanding, better experience somehow with this ocean. We're all standing at the shore. We are expressions of this ocean. And it is our responsibility to become conscious of that relationship. We experience God vicariously through things like the Lord's Prayer. It's like we let someone else do it for us, set it up for us. But the first person to put that prayer together was probably having a direct experience with God. Why can't we? Why can't each one of us? Why does it have to be the Lord's Prayer? Why not our prayer? And that's what we're after. We're after our understanding of how to tap the infinite right where we stand, how to make the ocean ours. This is ours. This is my piece of beach. This is where I am. And so this idea of taking this series of affirmations we call the Lord's Prayer and making it a preparatory to receiving, opening our minds to receive. It's a very important idea, very important shift to make. So he starts out, Our Father, or the prayer starts out, Our Father. And many people have pointed out, he didn't say, My Father. He didn't say, My ocean. It's our ocean. I'm standing on this place, this beach. It's my ocean. My experience is what he's saying. Our Father it's a collective statement, but it is all-inclusive. It is, what is ours is mine. We've got to make that shift. God is ours. The life that we are living, the life energy that we are, is ours. It's us. The body that we have is ours. The life that we're living is ours. And we don't hang on to any of them permanently, but it is our opportunity to be and to express. It's not somebody else's. That's one of the challenges of youth, is trying to follow someone else's example and not really finding our own. It's running with the herd. It's not just youth, it's all of us, any age. I am afraid that's what happened to the unity movement. It's turned to the herd mentality. It's like we want to save the world. We want to save all of us. Unity started out as you, the individual, wake up to your experience with God. It's not a collective thing. It's you. If you want to change the world, you wake up. As Gandhi said, be the change that you want to make in this world. That's how it started. And then that is a difficult path because we want other people's opinions on what the right way is. But Jesus said, go into your own inner closet, shut the door, and pray to the Father who's in secret. And the Father who sees in secret rewards you openly. That's how you influence the world, is by what you become as the result. We've had some of my friends in Unity have suggested that we get back to the founders. And I like that idea to a point. But my response to them is, let's get back to what made the founders. Let's get back to that process the founders were involved in that made them different, that set them apart. That's what they taught. They didn't say, come and parrot my words, be like me, memorize my book so you can pass a test. They all, in the early days, said, go within, find your connection with God, and let that express. Emma Curtis Hopkins was one of the best examples. She was known as the teacher of teachers. She didn't have a movement per se, but she influenced all of the New Thought movements in the 1800s. She influenced everybody. But they didn't just parrot what she said. She had this gift of stirring the spirit in the individual. And as I have read her materials over the years, that's what I feel she's done for me. She's got this unique, as I say in a review I wrote on Amazon on her book, her book, High Mysticism, is not written for the brain. It's written for the soul. She speaks to the soul. She stirs the soul in a way that you know you're one with God. You're an expression with God, of God. You have your own piece of beach. So this prayer starts out by taking an attitude of our Father. Think of God as a loving parent. And I'm sorry if you didn't have a good father, if you didn't have a good parent. You might have to make some adjustments in your thinking on that. And there might be a way you can do it without using the word father. But ideally, the parent is the provider, so you don't have to worry about growing up. I'm watching a family of quail grow up in our backyard right now. It's kind of an interesting thing, and I'm taking the challenge to try to film them. The two ladies in my household are a little bored with my obsession with this, but I saw the little babies fly this morning, so that was pretty cool. And they look like just little tiny inch-tall chicks, they're little tiny things. But if I see one of the babies or all the babies, there's 7 of them, you will always see the parents someplace. They may not be there on the ground with them, but they'll be up on the fence, or they'll be sitting someplace close by, making sure that everything's okay. And that's the kind of parental thing we're talking about here. When we say our Father, we're saying our source, that which provides. It's a mindset, it's a shift. It's taking our mind away from, I don't have, God, please help, to my helper is here. My help has arrived. My help has always been here. Our Father is a way of saying my source, acknowledging my source is now present. And it's a contrast to the undeserving attitude that many carry. It's a kind of a groveling. Prayer is often a type of groveling. I know I've sinned, I've been a bad person and all, but can you please help me with this problem? Anyway. So we get that type of thing out of our thought, and we just open ourselves to my source is present and willing. As a loving father, loving parent is present and willing. My best interest is their best interest. What's good for me is good for them. What's good for God is good for me. It's an attitude of just getting rid of all of the judgmental stuff that we have probably learned or put on ourselves for whatever. Forget your sins, forget all your problems, your mistakes, all the reasons why God shouldn't respond. God is responding even before you ask. That's the attitude we have. So you've got this thing going on in your life right now. You've got this problem. You want to sit down, take time to be still, and just kind of let everything go. And you open your mind to this idea that my provider is here, providing. And I don't even have to ask. I just acknowledge. Our Father. It's not a question. It's a statement. It's an acknowledgement. And that's what we do. That's the first step, is to acknowledge that my provider is present. Who art in heaven. What do we do when we say that? What's our knee-jerk reaction is to look up. And that's understandable. It's understandable why people ever thought God was in the sky. Let's see, we have a thing going on here. Don't mind me. We have this idea that the ancient people never thought we would go up into the sky, never thought we would go into space. So they thought that would be the best place to put deity. And as you know, deity has been placed in a lot of places. And that is up on mountains. There's several places in the Bible. The ancient Hebrew believed that God lived in trees, the oaks of Mamre. There was a time when God was carried around in the Ark of the Covenant. It was believed that God was localized for a long time, and then people started getting the idea of omnipresence, everywhere present. And so the sky would be a perfect place for God, because we're never going to get up there. We'll never prove it wrong. And it's a majestic vision. So we were taught that. Growing up, I was taught that, and I'm sure you were too. But the heavens actually carries a different word, a different meaning. Jesus said the kingdom of the heavens, it should be translated, is like leavened bread. Or it's like a grain of mustard seed, the smallest of all seeds that grows into the biggest of all the herbs, all the plants. So the idea is expansion. So my source, who is ever in the process of expansion. That's why Jesus said, don't judge by appearances, because this expansive process is occurring always. You see how that opens your mind. You're looking at the problem, your mind is locked on that. Think of heaven as an expansive state. Take your mind off that thing. Open your mind to this or something better. Something better is now unfolding. It's a movement. It's a living awareness that life as I see it at this moment is not frozen as I think it is. It's not locked in this particular arrangement of facts and appearances. There's all kinds of possibilities, all working right now. Infinite intelligence, infinite wisdom is working now. That's what this is intended to say. Who art in heaven, heaven carries the idea of expansion. So you look at your problem and you say, okay, this is how it appears, but this is not true. There's more to this than meets the eye. It's an attitude. Yes, this is how it looks. Yes, this is what my resources look like. Looks like I'm up a creek. Looks like I've got a real problem here. So what's the point of prayer? Is to change that. The word prayer comes from the Aramaic word slotha, which means to make an adjustment. We're adjusting. We're not begging and beseeching. We're opening our minds to the way the universe works, to the way God works, and the way God is working through me at this very moment. I don't make God work. I cooperate with the working of God. When you're looking at something and you're holding on to it just as tight as you can out of fear, you're not stopping God from working. You're stopping yourself from working. You're shutting yourself down to an experience that is very undesirable. And so what this prayer does, it breaks that up if we approach it properly. Our source is present. Our all-providing source is present. And my life is in a state of expansion right now. That which appears to be true is passing. This has come to pass. That's a good affirmation when you're looking at something. This too shall pass. It's a letting go, but not out of irresponsibility. It's out of understanding that a greater good is now marching, unfolding through your life at this very moment. So our source is present, who art in heaven, who's in the process of a continual expansion. Hallowed be thy name. The word hallowed means wholeness. And the word name implies nature, the nature of something. We don't do it so much today, but back in biblical times, a person was named usually after some event that was going on. All of the names mean something. If you ever look at Charles Fillmore's Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, all the names in the Bible are listed there and all the meanings are given. But when someone was born and there was something going on, they would name the child after that activity. We don't do that so much today. But the name and the nature of the birth, or the nature of the experience, the nature of the child himself or self. Wholeness is thy nature, is what the line is saying. Wholeness is your nature. In other words, it looks like there's lack in this situation, but I'm in the presence of God and there is no lack. This is a shift in attitude, a shift in the way we are seeing this thing. Something can close up and something else will open up. This is the attitude we have. It's always disturbing when that happens, because we have forgotten that wholeness is the nature of God. Wholeness, not living in part. Wholeness is the nature of God, and I'm in the presence of God. I'm an expression of God. So it's a whole opening of the mind to a dynamic. Instead of looking out and gathering information and reflecting that and letting that become the basis of your experience, we're saying there's a whole new possibility here. Wholeness is your nature. My all provider, wholeness is your nature. In other words, I'm not given partial answers. I'm open to the wholeness, the expansive experience of a loving Father. Remember, the prodigal son left home, did all the sinning, came back. Father was totally accepting, totally forgiving, through a big party. No judgment whatsoever. That's the attitude I think Jesus is trying to convey through this prayer. So take that attitude into your experience. You've got something going on. Maybe you've got a health challenge going on. You've got a financial challenge. You've just a life challenge, something general in life that you can't figure out, something that's a problem. Don't look at it like you have looked at it in the past, even if the past is 15 seconds ago. Start with this understanding that our Father, I am now in the presence of God. I'm now in the presence of pure being. That's how we sing it every Sunday morning. I'm now in this presence. I don't have to earn the right to be in this presence. I'm now in this presence. And I'm involved in a ever-expanding process, because God is in this heavenly, expansive process. So that which appears is an appearance only. It's not the truth about my life. It's not the truth about me. It is an appearance only. This expansive process is occurring right now as I look at this situation. Wholeness is the nature, not of only of this presence, but of me and of my life. My life is an expression of wholeness at this very moment. This is the preparation for successful prayer. It's opening the mind to God in a way that we can receive. That our expectations are focused not on our abilities, but on the abilities of that which has brought forth this universe and is bringing forth this universe. Okay, so next week we will move into another couple of lines, and just kind of keep this in mind. At the end of this series, we'll summarize it with, I have written a kind of rewritten the Lord's Prayer in the way I'm talking about here. And I'll present that at the very end of this series. Okay, thank you for coming out, and don't forget, we're going to have a celebration for Wanda. 99 birthdays. Today's the 99th, and we'll go downstairs and do that. So thanks for coming out. Stay cool and all that stuff. All right.